Barbara Liss join us. She is the VP of Marketing for Merrick Pet Care. And our good friend, Zach Alter, he is the VP of Strategic Accounts at Jukin Media. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
Hey.
This is the first time I'm seeing myself, so I need to acclimate.
Oh yeah, I'm usually fixing right to pick stuff up. I think we're all doing that. What's going on, guys? You doing okay today?
Yeah.
Hanging in. I'm actually back in the office, so kind of braving the real world.
Good for you.
So I know.
Awesome, cool. Well, I'll let you guys chat. I know you have some stuff prepared, and then I'll pop in towards the end.
Okay.
Great. All right, have a good time.
Thanks. Hi, Barbara.
Hey, Zach. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm still good.
Are you good, though? We discussed this yesterday. Like, everyone to the form answer is good, I'm fine. But, like, if you could really be honest, what would you say? And you don't have to in this.
Right. Well, I'd say what I said to you yesterday is I'm just trying to stay sane and not gain another 10 pounds and keep the glitter out of my workspace at home. So.
Yeah. Oh, parenting. So we'll start with introductions. Barbara and I obviously we've known each other for a little while. So, but you all may not know us. So excited to be here speaking with you. Quickly, my name is Zach Alter. I'm with Jukin Media. We are in sort of the real life video business. So we find and acquire sort of the best user generated video as it's shared by real people across the world. A lot of that is cat videos and pet videos, and we own one of the largest online pet communities. And we work with brands to leverage that video and content, creative, and media, and we've done that actually with Merrick. But I'm not very interesting. Barbara is significantly more interesting. She actually got into Michigan where I didn't. So there's that. So Barbara, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about Merrick, and then we'll take it away.
Thank you. You give me too much credit. So I'm Barbara Liss. I am the VP of Marketing at Merrick. As was said, I am responsible for all of our advertising, marketing, communications, as well as our e-commerce marketing efforts. I'm sure all of you with dog and cats have heard of us, and if not, hopefully you will look us up after today. But we're a natural line of pet food. We've been around since 1988. We were family founded by Garth Merrick, who started the company in Texas. And while we've got offices kind of in a couple more cities, we're still kind of based out of his office in Hereford, Texas, the beef capital of the world. And we're still kind of really true to our Texas roots and kind of putting out the best food out there.
And you said it yesterday, like there are people who literally like stuff the carrots and the vegetables, like hand pack the food, right?
We kind of liken ourselves to a craft brewery of the pet food. And so if you were to go down there, we're actually one of the only pet food that owns our own cannery. And the folks down there on the line, some of our wet food, they hand stuff baby carrots, potatoes, chicken wings. I mean, it's literally the exact same produce you would see at your grocery store or Sam's Club. I'll plug the folks before us. So yeah, the food is incredible, truly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So natural pet food, quality, premium is sort of at the core of everything you've done and what you do. And so you guys had like, and still have this nice business and everything's humming along, and then 2020 hits and it all goes to hell. So like, you know, probably a lot of the webinars and conversations that folks have had, I think it's still interesting to me 5-6 months in to dig into how companies and brands have and continued to adjust, right? I think this is not a moment in time situation, but rather a new way of living and doing business that we'll be in for a while. So I'd love to dig into some of the shifts and trends and changes and your guys' response and where we go from here. I think, you know, the pet category is really interesting, right? Like, you know, where people buy their pet food. Some buy them at the sort of the traditional pet specialty stores, PetSmart, PetGo. There's been obviously a big e-com push with Amazon and Chewy over the last number of years. Talk to us about like where your distribution was, where it is, how you're seeing changes in buying and how your strategy has maybe adjusted for each of those channels in the last 6 months-ish.
Yeah. Well, I think first, just kind of taking that step back to when COVID first hit, Being a manufacturing company, in some ways, we're fortunate because our business has been able to continue to operate, and it's a necessity. But at the same time, everything we did in terms of how we go to market, how we produce our food, had to be kind of stopped and checked. And so making sure all of our safety protocols are in play. How do you continue to get folks at work just to make the food? I mean, we've got a lot of people down in Texas who are scared to go to work. And so first and foremost, it was how do we take care of our employees? How do we make sure we're ready to pivot for them? And then right after that comes our pet parents. And so those of you with animals, I mean, that's just as important as your own kids. And in some instances, especially after being home with them for 4 months, more important. And people want to really make sure that they can still get their pet food. And that was first and foremost in our mind. How do we make sure that we can continue at capacity? How do we make sure we can continue to deliver food? So once we kind of put in all of those processes and protocols, then we went to, okay, what is changing in the marketplace and how are people buying their pet food? And I think you kind of alluded to it. We have an interesting distribution strategy where we are committed to pet specialty. So we are only in Petco, PetSmart, those local pet stores, and then online with Amazon and Chewy. So we're not in big box retailers, we're not in Walmart, we're not in Targets, et cetera. And so for us, it was like, okay, people aren't going into the stores. So what does that mean? Huge shift to online. In addition to a huge shift online, there was a huge change in how they purchase. So just like people were purchasing and kind of hoarding, I'm not going to call anyone out, but paper towels and wipes, same thing was happening for pet food. And so we kind of took a step back right away and said, how do we make sure we're hitting these people where they are? We had just kind of started our e-commerce journey. So how do we quickly accelerate it from a content perspective to a supply chain perspective? We were fortunate, we'd started, so we just had to step on the gas a little bit. But it's been interesting to see how things have started to come back to normal and figure out what is next and what changes are short term and what are forever.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I think there are changes that we probably thought were short term that we're quickly realizing are at least medium term, if not long term, and permanent shifts and changes. You said local pet stores, independent pet stores. Like, I think that's probably something that a lot of people forget about, right? Like in this ecosystem, a lot of consumers are thinking about, okay, I'm going to Target or I'm going to Chewy. But these local pet stores, especially with Merrick, a brand that is premium, natural, tell us about like what that's been like to work with smaller independent pet stores across the country and how that strategy might differ from working with Chewy or PetSmart.
Yeah. I mean, it's been tough, just like with all kind of small businesses across America. I think in many ways, those are the ones hardest hit. And so we did everything we could to continue to support them. So we quickly kind of went to our sales team and said, let us know who's doing buy online, pick up out in front of store. And so we edited our website to kind of highlight some of those places to make sure people had access to them. And I think what we've also seen, though, is as the market has started to turn back on and as those stores open up, I do think a lot of consumers are looking for those opportunities to give back to some of those smaller stores. And that is where there's a lot of loyalty. I think somewhat different than some of the bigger box pet retail stores. It's a lot easier for someone to say, you know what, Jim at my local pet store, he knows who I am. He's given me all my advice. And so people are starting to go back into those stores. They really want to support local. And I think that's been a benefit. But it's, those guys are having to accelerate really quickly. A lot of them don't have the sophistication around an e-commerce platform. They didn't have the ability to pivot as quickly. And so we're a brand that was built in independent pet. And so we're trying to do everything we can to continue to support those guys. We just launched a new product called Full Source, which is only available at Petco and independent pet. So continuing to provide reason for people to shop at these stores to get these incredible foods that you can't just get anywhere.
One thing that just came to mind, and it's really interesting, is like internally, and I'm imagine you can't go into it deeply, but your metrics, your KPIs have to be consistently adjusting as well, because where you think, and I don't pretend to know how you measure it. You think, okay, we're going to sell X amount in brick and mortar and X amount online. Like, that's just rip it up, toss it out the window, right?
Yep. So there we go. We're just bringing it for the rest of the year. We do have KPIs and measures, and I think everybody in every business is kind of like, hey, the beginning of the year, I thought I'd get X% from Amazon and X% for Chewy and X% from Petco and PetSmart. And that's definitely out the window. We've seen, our retail partners decline. We've seen a huge increase at Amazon. But at the end of the day, our eyes are really on what is that total number and how do we make sure we're adjusting to get there, but how do we, where we are seeing slight declines again, how do we continue to pivot? How do we think how people are shopping at a Petco pet store? They've done a great job also trying to really accelerate their e-commerce capabilities and their buy online pickup in store. And so everybody's working really hard to kind of rethink things based on consumer behavior.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, we're all going to have a weird asterisk at the end of 2020 when it comes to every number. We just had a meeting today on our marketing mix model. We're talking about last year and some of the category issues. And next year is going to be another big, who knew? So we'll see.
Next year could be very interesting because, the availability of a vaccine or whatever could make the first half and the second half of next year look dramatically different from each other. So yeah, we're in it for a little while. So let's talk about in-store for a little bit.
Okay.
You're a brand that has long relied on retail associates, in-store brand ambassadors, basically educating and making customers aware of Merrick and its benefits sort of at or very close to the point of purchase.
Yep.
That was in a world where people would go into PetSmart and know that they maybe needed dog food, but were going to rely on themselves or others to educate because they had some time to be in the store. When people go in the store today, it's an assumption, but I would say a pretty good assumption. They're going in knowing what they want and they're leaving, right? They're in and out. So how do you replace that hand-to-hand combat, if you will, that hand-to-hand education with consumers with stuff that takes place virtually or digitally?
Yeah. Maybe we should buy a lot of pet content.
Probably.
Right. Do you like how I did that? No, listen, we talked about this the other day, but that is a huge concern for us and something that we're thinking about. We are a brand that was built on that, hand-to-hand combat and pet specialty retailers where they fed our food and people come in and they trust the local guy. We are not an advertising built brand. We have advertising in the market, but it's very small compared to what we spend on our training programs for retail, our brand ambassador programs, really getting people in the aisle and being able to answer questions about our food or talk to why it's better than something else. It's really been a business built on that one-to-one. And so as we think about the rest of the year and 2021, I think you're going to see a big shift, not only obviously our plans, but a lot of folks that are kind of base reliant on that sort of in-store appeal, even from a merchandising perspective, a display, like everything in store, people are now going to kind of go in and be like, I want to spend more time than I have to in store. I think they're still going to go to stores, but I think they're going to spend a lot less time. And so for us, it makes things like continuing to invest in ratings and reviews. I think a lot of that kind of lower funnel advertising where you're really kind of making sure people understand the benefits. I think we'll do a lot more need-based things like, oh, I hear you have a problem. Here's how I can solve your problem versus higher level awareness. I think, we have small influencer programs. A lot of our influencers have been more in store. I think online influencers have kind of had an up and down path as just marketing has shifted, but I think there's going to be a lot of shift back to those folks so they can try our food, use it. And again, just like baby food and other things, people really rely on what other people tell them. And so now it's going to be like, how do we continue to find resources to do that for us versus in store?
Do you think, and again, this is not exactly my specialty, but do you think that, Chewy.com, PetSmart.com, Amazon.com, the .com players will build more holistic brand experiences on their digital platform so that brands can educate digitally at the point of purchase in a digital sense? Or is that already there? Like, is that something that you would push for?
I think it varies across our partners. So I think Amazon is a great example of this little startup that is really figuring out how to create these incredible brand experiences. So we just launched a brand store on Amazon. So people can get a much more robust Merrick experience that up until just a few days ago, they could only get on our website or in store. So I do think we're going to start seeing Petco, PetSmart look a lot more into that enhanced content model that has made Amazon what it is today, because people are going to be spending, we already know they're spending a lot of time online doing their research, looking at things, but I think it's going to be a little more now, because I think they're going to really want to go in store being pretty set on what they buy. Or if, and that's assuming they go in store, everyone else is just going to make those decisions online. And so they're going to need to have that information there to convert, or they're going to lose them to someone else who answers their questions. So I think also things like chat, text, all those customer service tools. I mean, I am, a fairly sophisticated online shopper, and I almost get disappointed now when there's not an online chat, because I don't want to go in store. I don't want to call someone, but I've got a question. And so being able to provide those levels of service are going to be really important as well.
And pet food is, I don't know if it's like a deeply thoughtful decision that people make, right? Like they're not just like winging it and being like, your packaging is nice and pretty. Like it is a decision that people take very seriously. They want to know what's in there. They want to know what's going on, and that it's good for their animal. And so they're going to have deeper questions than, buying a white t-shirt.
Yeah, I thought you said wet t-shirt. And I was like, okay, different call. No, exactly. And I think, again, especially our pet parents who are buying a $40, $50, $60 bag of pet food are way more invested in that decision. I mean, there certainly are people who are like, it's a price driven and they're going, to do that. But within the natural category and within pet specialty, I mean, we just did some consumer work. I mean, people will literally go into the store for an hour and read the ingredients just like they do on their own food, and look at that label and go from pack to pack to pack. And so being able to do that online efficiently is going to be really important.
Yep. It's a changing world. Let's talk about a couple really cool things that you guys have done lately. Barbecue. So your big thing for this year was a new barbecue line, and it was going to be awesome. And then, it happened, but the plans like turned upside down. So can you talk to us a little bit about that launch, what it's supposed to look like, and what it is now?
Yeah, quick 15-second ad for all of you pet owners out there. Our new line of Merrick BBQ comes in 4 regionally inspired flavors, is incredible. Your dogs will like, you're going to open it up. It looks and smells like barbecue. So we won't even go into the health benefits, just check it out. But so barbecue was our big innovation this year. And we were super excited. We were going to go to Memphis in May. We were going to be the first dog food to launch. It was going to be very experiential, kind of food truck sorts of things. And then Corona hit. And so we said, okay, well, that's not going to happen. And so we kind of took a step back and looked at the landscape of the world. And we kind of saw 2 problems that we could uniquely help solve. The first was local restaurants were suffering. People weren't going to restaurants at all. And there's a lot of incredible barbecue restaurants out there. And then at the same time, I think everybody's heard so much about all the dogs that have been adopted and fostered, which is great. The shelters are empty, but at the same time, no one's donating to shelters. Like people are just, dollars are being spent differently. There's a lot of concern. So a lot of our shelter partners are down in donations. And so we created this program called Barbecue for Good, and we partnered with DoorDash. And what we did is for a week, people were able to go online, order DoorDash, use the hashtag Barbecue for Good, and we would donate $1 to a national animal shelter. So great way to get people kind of excited about barbecue, but also give back, which is something that's just critical to our DNA and who we are. So that was just really fun to see. We had some local programs where you could also get the barbecue food delivered and things like that. So my boss is like, you only need 5 days to plan a program from now on. And I'm like, no, but we did it. We had great partners and the response was fantastic. So we were really excited.
So can we expect to see you at Memphis next May?
I hope so. We thought they were going to move it to Memphis in September, and then that got canceled too. So I've never been. So I would love to get down there, one personally, but I think it's a great opportunity to get in front of, you know, a lot of pet owners who love barbecue with our product and what we have to offer.
I think that's so cool. I mean, it is interesting in these days how, like, what does, you know, Merrick have to do with DoorDash have to do with, you know, anything else, right? In a sort of a normal world, you wouldn't ever think, but it's happened a lot. Like a lot of these brands who come from dramatically different industries and categories have found ways to work together, not only for their own good, but for the good of likely a third party, a charity, whatever it is. So I think that's a really interesting sort of byproduct or side effect of the situation we're in, is folks are looking outside of their sort of front, you know, standard tunnel vision for partnerships.
I do. I think as crazy as the world is right now, there has been such a growth and an outpouring of just overall humanity, for the most part, that it's really nice to see.
Awesome. And then perfect segue. This is just a week old or a few days old. Canine for Warriors, did I get that right? Is a partner of yours, and you guys just did a really cool study on service dogs and their positive impact on veterans.
So Canine for Warriors has been a partner of ours for a while now, and Merrick provides all of the food to their shelters. What's really interesting about their program is that they are all shelter dogs. So they find and kind of rescue these dogs, and they kind of rehabilitate them. So that's where the nutrition comes in. They really see how it changes those dogs' lives. They're then paired with a veteran who has most likely been suffering from PTSD. And what we've done, in addition to just providing food, and I think this is what you're referring to, is we funded $500,000 in research for Purdue University. It's a multi-year study, and they've just started to release some of the results, and the early findings are incredible. Right now, for veterans, the only medicine or the only kind of thing insurance coverages in terms of helping them is drugs. And what we're trying to show is that a service dog is just as effective, if not more so, that the cost of that should be covered by insurance, but also to encourage increased investments in that area. And so the research team at Purdue is amazing, and they found ways to measure serotonin levels throughout the day, whereas I hope there's no one in science and research out there that's going to totally hold me to this. So let's just take it at its highest level. But most of us wake up, our levels increase, and then they kind of go down through the day. Whereas folks who suffered, and again, please, like, big asterisk, I'm not a scientist, who suffer from PTSD, they kind of never hit any of those spikes. And what they've seen is with the dog's ability to understand and calm the owner, is they are actually seeing that increase. And it's that research that will allow it to be proven as a cure isn't the right word, but as help. And it's incredible. I've been down to their facility in Florida, and what it's done for some of these veterans who it's changed their relationships with their family. It's changed their ability to go to the mall, to a movie, to a store, to a restaurant. It's given them their life back. And it's just been incredible for Merrick to be part of.
So that's something you guys have been involved with for, you said, years, a while now, right? Mm-hmm. The DoorDash sort of was I don't even want to say opportunistic, but a necessary pivot, but that had a charitable element to it. As you go forward, like a brand, you've always been rooted in quality and taking care of your customers with premium dog food. You've had charitable elements to your marketing mix in the past. Is that something that you think that the world, not making a philosophical statement, that's something you see doing more of because you think there's benefit there for the business, for the community?
I don't, like, we are certainly not jumping on the purpose-driven bandwagon because of Corona. You know, on our package, one of our 5 stars is Merrick Gives Back. So I think for us, that's always been who we are. I think we will continue to leverage it. I think there's plenty of other studies out there that talk about the importance of purpose-driven brands to consumers, especially to millennials and kind of some of these younger groups. And I think in the world we live in, just changed forever. I mean, it'll go back to something, but like, we are living in a very different time. I do think brands that can show the empathy and can find ways to give back to the people who are buying their products and to stand for something will continue to thrive. And again, I know there's studies out there that talk about the bottom line and the market cap of companies that behave in that sort of way. And I do think you're going to see a lot more of it. And the challenge is going to be for people who are turning it on to make sure that they do it in a truly authentic way, because consumers are really smart and they will call you out immediately. And so that's something that we take very, very seriously, is how do we make sure we're doing this in an authentic way? It's not ever about us as the brand. It's about who we're helping. And how do you walk that fine line? I mean, at the end of the day, we're a business. We need to hit our numbers, but we can't be in it for the wrong reasons.
Well, I think that's an important word, is walk. You walk the walk, not just talk the talk. All right, we have a question here from Phyllis. That's all I've got for you. I have no other. You're off my hot seat. But Phyllis Joseph asks, do you have an existing direct response or email program? And how do you anticipate leveraging that moving forward in the spirit of affecting decision-making on purchases in advance of being in store?
No, that's a great question. And I think for everybody, kind of your own database and email marketing is going to become more critical. So we do have an email marketing program. I feel we're still in our infancies of sophistication. Luckily, last year we started to put some improvements in place. So further segmentation, different content for dog and cat owners. I mean, some very basic things, but we know are critical. And so we will try to grow that database. We will continue to leverage it to drive awareness of new products for trial. So again, as we learn more about our pet parents and we know that they're buying our treats but not our food, how do we consistently tell those stories? So I'd love to see us kind of on a 1 to 3 year plan really get to a best in class from a CRM perspective. I think that's going to be really important.
And then one last question is, like, we talked about this a little bit earlier. So what are your brands, like in store is dramatically scaled back? Do you think that's a part of your business that will sort of recapture its importance down the road? Or do you think that the shift is a little bit more permanent?
I think we're a very big country, and we see kind of two parts on the news, like the people who are packing places and then the people who are like, heck no, we won't go. People are going to go back to retail. I mean, the day the Gap opened, like I was in, like it smelled so good. I was like, I'm ready, I'm back. So people are going to go back to retail. I just think how they do it is going to be different. And so again, fighting just as much as we did, but even more so for display. So like display has always been important to retail, but now it's even more so because I kind of want to be at the front of the store, because when someone comes in, that's probably what they're going to grab and go. So I think it's going to be a lot of the same, but heightened. And that's where just the relationships with your retail partners are going to come into play. I think the kind of point of sale you use. So do you get more eye-catching video displays? We were trying some, video units in some of our pet stores. Again, I know I just said they're not going to spend as much time in store, but if I give them something more engaging, I have a better chance at least keeping them and maybe converting them. So there's certainly going to be a shift in the mix, 100%, but retail is not going to go away. In our category, it's not going to go away. It might change, but people will still have questions about their pets. They're still going to want to bring their pets into the store. They're still going to go get groomed. All those things are still going to happen. So there's an opportunity to capture them.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Lauren, I see you have popped back in. There you are.
Hi.
Yeah, that's sort of all it is. But I don't know if, Lauren, if you have any questions or if there's any other questions to discuss, or if we're all cooked.
I liked your phrase "off the hook." You're off the hook, guys. I was listening to you guys during, and I was thinking these two should start a podcast or something.
We had so much fun yesterday. We didn't get to our Marvel movies was going to be our next topic of conversation if we ran out of things to talk about. So
yeah, like Thor the worst, but Captain America, 2 thumbs up.
Oh man, we're gonna start getting hate mail, you guys.
I know. See?
Yeah.
Give us 30 minutes on the next live cast.
Yeah.
Okay. Please come back. I think that's we'll just do a whole day on that. Yeah.
Netflix. You can talk about Netflix or all my other binge watching all day too. So.
Oh man, Barbara, you should join one of our happy hours Zach hosts sometimes. All we do is talk about not work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Zach gave me a couple things to watch, so I'll add them to my list and then see you guys next
But
time.
don't join the happy hour until you've watched them. I'm not inviting noobs to the happy hour who can't talk about the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see the bar has been set. Is that what you say? Yeah.
Very high. Very high.
Okay.
Very high.
Got it.
It's very high, guys. Thank you so much. I know you guys have busy schedules like all of our speakers, and we really appreciate you being a part of the community.
Thank
No,
you.
it's my pleasure. This was fun.
Awesome. All righty.
Awesome. Well, have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and thanks to our audience for tuning in today. We have a full slate of programming starting next Tuesday through Thursday, so feel free to check it out on our site and register there, and we'll see you again soon. Have a great day.